Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, it's raining games. Hallelujah, it's raining games. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, joined as always by my co-host Mark Mitchell. We have got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Direct, as well as the fact that Square Enix and Capcom are more committed to the Switch now than ever. Plus, on Thursday, we're going to be coming back to talk about new Super Mario Bros. U, and maybe the rest of the new Super Mario Bros. Series. Who knows? In the meantime, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Patrick?
I'm doing well. I am also. I don't know why that question threw me.
You weren't expecting it.
I wasn't. Oh no!
It's like we've never done this before.
It's Nintendo Cartridge Society. Gotcha. Journalism at its worst.
I mean, pulling back the curtain here a little bit. We're recording this about an hour and a half later than we usually start.
It's a little bit later.
So if people come to this podcast to hear us complain about how tired we are, have we got a show for you?
Oh yeah, it's going to be all about how early did I get up. It's going to be all about how the coffee machine wasn't working. It's going to be all about all of these things.
One thing I will complain about is it's rather cold outside.
Moving into the weather report, it is rather cold outside. Yeah,
we're in that LA winter where it is, or I guess LA late fall, I guess early fall. I don't know.
You can just call it winter. I think that's okay. I think it's in I always remember there's a common joke growing up in Wisconsin, and then it's the same joke in Illinois, it turns out, which is that there are 4 seasons. Almost winter, winter, still winter, and road construction. And I feel like LA is just the opposite of that, where we have one winter and then it's like almost summer, summer, and still summer.
Oh, I thought you were going to say one winter and 3 road constructions.
That is also true.
The 5 is never going to be finished, guys.
No, never.
It's cold. At the moment that we're recording this, it is cold.
It's chilly at worst.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. It is LA cold. I was cold.
Mm-hmm.
I am cold.
I'm sorry.
This is the kind of high quality show that you enjoy.
Look, we're real tired right now. Our guest weather today is from Keene, New Hampshire.
Yeah, it is actually cold there.
Right.
When I looked up the weather in Keene, New Hampshire, it was 34 degrees Fahrenheit. It is, we're looking at highs in the 40s. Got some rain in there. Little scattered sunshine.
Tell you what, a high in the 40s is not, that's no high, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm saying that's not high enough to be high.
What if our show turns out that we're not going to be tired, we're just going to be punchy?
Well, big ups to
the biggest of ups to our listeners in Keene, New Hampshire.
Yeah, and big ups to our own punchiness.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The biggest of ups. Let's get into what we've been playing this week, Mark. So I made a mistake that I telegraphed on last week's show. That mistake was, hey, I could get Sonic Forces for only $32.
Yeah, $32 is garbage to me.
That's garbage money. What is that? 6 cups of coffee? So I bought Sonic Forces, and I have been playing it. Might be a bit extreme. I played it for like a day. It's not a good game. It thinks it's this like dramatic war epic, set in the Sonic the Hedgehog universe, and then begrudgingly makes you play a game in between cutscenes. And the game is just not. It's not fun. It switches between styles. Sometimes you're controlling classic Sonic, which is sort of cool. And it's like a 2D side-scrolling thing, and other times it's very Sonic Adventure-y, but never with like a hub world that feels like anything. The game's a real bummer.
It's interesting to me that this game was budget priced, right? Like $40. Are other Sonic titles? Like I think of Sonic games as being like full price, like $60 buy-ins.
Yeah.
But it seems like a bit of a concession that for Sega to just be like, we know we can only ask $40 for this. How bad is it if normally they're willing to ask $60?
Well, I think because the remake of Ratchet and Clank, was that earlier this year or was that last year on the PlayStation? That came out at $40.
Oh, so did
was that where Crash
Insane
Trilogy? That's Crash Bandicoot. In case you thought it was maybe some other kind of Crash.
No.
His name is Crash, right? Am I getting that right?
His name is Crash.
His name is Crash.
Yes.
Crash the Bandicoot.
Yes.
Okay. So maybe that's just like the price point for, nostalgia-driven mascot platformers.
But I would argue that Forces is not like it's not a remaster. It's not a
no, that's right.
It's like it's whole new thing. You were showing me some of it, and like the most interesting thing to me was that it has like an avatar maker.
Yes.
Like you can make your own character to exist in the Sonic universe. But it seems
they call him the Rookie.
The Rookie. And it's like you made a bird.
Yeah, I made a bird.
And
you can be like a bear or a cat or a hedgehog.
Can you be a cat that's like, can you choose your
size? You cannot choose a fat cat.
You can't be like pigs.
You cannot be like Big the Cat.
But it I didn't like how it like you have Sonic missions and you have classic Sonic. Then there's like ones that your avatar that the Rookie can do, and right, that's like how it works. Like it's all kind of
there are some Sonic missions, there are some classic Sonic missions, and then there are some avatar missions. On top of that, there are some where you're controlling both the avatar and Sonic at the same time, and they just sort of like move together. But like those levels are so like they are emblematic of like what's wrong with the whole game, is that like you're never really sure which one of them you're controlling, like you just sort of move the like mass that is the two of them around. And that's like the whole game where you're like, I don't really know if I can run on this. I don't really know if this is an enemy. I don't really know if, jumping here is going to plummet me off the side, or like if I need to just be running straight forward so Sonic automatically runs or like jumps onto a railing or whatever. It's a mess. The game is just a mess.
Well, that's kind of a bummer. It feels like, because like Sonic Mania was really well received.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I would like other people to experience this game, if for no other reason than just like morbid curiosity. Like it's a good curiosity satisfier. So here's a deal that I want to make to anyone who's into it. Send us an email, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com, and send me your address, and I will mail you my copy of Sonic Forces. Play it for a little bit, however long you want, and then send it back to me.
I love this. I think this is great.
And then when I get it back, I'll send it to somebody else.
It's like a one-game Gamefly.
It's like a one-game Gamefly, and the game's not very good.
It's a Sonic Forces delivery service.
So just email us. You don't need to even really write anything in just give me your address. And look, if someone wants to scam me and just take my copy of Sonic Forces and never send it back to me,
shame on you.
First of all, shame on you, but fine, fair play.
I don't think anybody who listens to this show is that type of person.
If anyone wants to scam me, all you have
to
do,
or if you are that type of person,
yeah, all you have to do is send an email here with your address, and I will send you my copy of Sonic Forces.
So not only will you be scamming Patrick, you will be proving me wrong.
That's right. That's a double whammy.
It's a win-win for you.
Right. And a net negative for the universe.
I picked up Doom.
Yeah, tell me about Doom.
So I've only played a few hours. I think we're going to be talking about it a little more in depth sometime in the future when I've had a little bit more time to go through it. I'm really enjoying it. We talked about this a little bit earlier. The first time I picked it up, I had like a really like visceral reaction to it. It really was kind of like a gut punch because the game is so it's very aggro and very, the whole point of the game, and they really get you straight into it, is just like you're
busting up demons.
Yeah, just like destroying them in very graphic ways. And yeah, I had like a really not like negative reaction, but it has just been so long since I've played a game like this.
Do you think that's because we've been kind of like head down in Nintendo for the last
Yeah,
year or
I
so?
think so, but I'm also trying to think of I guess maybe if I had played like Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
That's like a game that I would have picked up that would probably have the same sort of feeling to it. But yeah, for so long, geez, I don't even know, like the year that we've been doing this show.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, since March when the Switch came out, and like that's kind of become since Zelda, I guess, since
Yeah,
Breath of
it's
the
been
Wild.
like
Yeah.
it's definitely been my primary like gaming device, and this is the first game on Switch that is this sort of, I mean, there's no really other way to say it, like gory, violent game. And yeah, it did take me aback for a moment. I was like, whoa, this feels nuts. But I feel like it's really well rendered. I don't have anything to compare it against. I know a lot of the reviews were talking about how it doesn't look good in docked mode. And I know like resolution wise, it only runs at like 720p. But it didn't bother me. I didn't really notice it. It looks amazing in handheld mode.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
when you're playing in handheld, it's like it's
it's
incredible.
a miracle. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's really fun, and I played a couple of online matches, and it's very like the most online I had played probably most recently was like Destiny or Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And it to me reminds me a lot more of like PC online shooters where the matches are a little longer, the maps are a little bigger. You have more freedom to just like run around and do things rather than just like a 3-minute uh
Deathmatch.
kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
it is a death match. It just feels more like PC.
Sure. Okay.
to me.
You feel more like you're sitting in it than like less arcadey almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm really enjoying it. It's interesting to see it on the Switch.
Well, I look forward to talking about that more deeply I think what we're going to end up doing is just sort of like a third-party November roundup episode one of these weeks.
Right.
After like LA Noire is out, and probably after Skyrim is out, and Rocket League, and I'm jumping ahead and naming all the things that are going to be coming out. We've also been playing New Super Mario Brothers U, which we will talk about on Thursday. All right, Mark, let's get into the new releases.
So, like you mentioned, this is kind of the beginning of the third-party deluge. And so this week, today alone, November 14th, we have LA Noire.
Yes.
Coming out. Batman, the Telltale series. Rocket League. That's a big one. It might actually be live right now as we're recording this.
It might be, yeah.
And then Rhyme also comes out today.
Also, Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. These are a bunch of games coming to this thing. And I have yet to prioritize what I'm going to grab here. I think I'm picking up 3 games today.
So are you getting LA Noire, the Batman game, and Rocket League?
Yeah.
Did you play the Batman game on any of the other platforms? I
No.
haven't either, but I've heard good things.
I have heard good things too. And you know, I always like the idea of a Telltale game, and then I'm like, I don't know if I need this. For the most part, you know, the Walking Dead is good, but yeah, other than that, they've been hard for me to get into. But obviously, I like Batman, so I'll give that one a shot.
Really interested to see how LA Noire is.
Yeah.
In my mind, it's a game that is not very fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
That was mostly like a tech demo, and I never owned it, but my friends had it, and it was interesting, like riding around realized Los Angeles.
So
and
you
can like pull up the in-game map and be
Mhm.
like, oh, that's where I live.
Right. Well, here's my plan. My plan is to get LA Noire on the Switch, and then as I play the game, drive to those locations in real modern day Los Angeles, play the scenes in those spaces, So it's gonna be a lot of like driving downtown to the police station, right? It should be fun.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, excited to hear what you think of that. And then on November 17th, which is Friday.
Yes.
Yeah, that works out. It's of course Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which feels like such a weird afterthought.
Yeah, it is weird that those are. I mean, it's weird to me that they exist as like sort of like sub sequels to each of them. Like instead of like meeting halfway and being like what was the rumored stars? Instead of being
Stars.
that it's just like a little mini sequel to each one.
And like this time last year, I was super hyped for Sun and Moon to be released.
Mhm.
And so maybe what I'm feeling now is the absence of that. And so I'm just projecting my lack of hype for these games onto the universe. But it's hard to know how excited people are for this game. I mean, obviously it's Pokemon,
Right.
but it feels like as a fan base, we have moved on to the Switch.
Yeah, it's hard to say because I know that I do not speak for Pokemon fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that
I don't speak. We don't speak for Nintendo fans.
No, barely. I frequently don't speak for Patrick. So, but yeah, it's like my personal excitement about them is like a zero.
And I liked Pokemon Moon.
And I like Pokemon Sun, and I'm sure we would like these Ultra versions as well. But it's just kind of like I got other stuff to play.
But if it was Pokemon Stars and it was on the Switch,
oh yeah, I'd be there.
I would buy it.
I'd be there.
That's what's so weird. But it's on the 3DS. It might as well be dead to me. I'm more excited for Skyrim, which comes out the same day. This will be, personally, this will be the second time I buy and play this game. I know for other people, Skyrim has become like a Resident Evil 4, like honestly, like Grand Theft Auto 5, where it's a perennial. It has been available in so many different forms on so many different systems that you could have easily purchased this like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, and every time it could have been like an exciting purchase.
Yeah, and I'm excited to buy it on Switch. Again, it's the same sort of thing as like Doom, where you're like, I can't believe this is on a portable system.
And yet, here we are. It's all very exciting. All right, Mark, let's move out of the new releases. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or a group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Shoot, Mark. Hold on, wait, I gotta queue up this performance here. All right, there we go. We're talking about sleepovers.
Pro or con? When you were a kid.
When I was a kid.
Yeah.
I think I had them a lot as a kid. So I think pro.
Hosted at your house, or did you prefer at your house or going over to somebody else's house?
I don't know. Like either way, I feel like inconvenienced, right? Although I, as a kid, was pretty good at not sleeping in my bed. Like I didn't need to have that kind of comfort. I know there were other kids that had a harder time with that, and I was always with the kids making fun of the one kid who was like, "I'm gonna go back to my bed." I don't know. What about you? Were you pro sleepovers?
No, I was pretty con. Which is a surprise, I'm sure, to everybody because I'm so much fun to be around. But it has,
especially as we get more and more tired.
But it has like continued into my adult life, where I like being in social situations like a party or something for a little bit, but I like being able to leave on my own terms. I like being able to be like, I'm done with this now.
Right,
I
the night is
had
over.
my fill. And with sleepovers, that's not like, even as like a 10-year-old, that's not a thing that could happen.
Right.
So you could be like, oh, it's like 2 a.m, and well, we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know how that ends. We were accompanied today by the Northwestern Library, and I gotta say, it's a cowardly performance of 433. They cut it off after like a minute and a half. All right, let's move into the news.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess we need to talk about the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Direct that happened last Tuesday.
I'm not sure that I'm capable of this task of I don't know that I can do this.
So, we had, I don't know, high hopes for this. We were hoping for it to kind of turn around
Yeah.
our feelings on the game, and I've got to say, mission not accomplished.
I would say what's the opposite of accomplished?
Unaccomplished?
Mission unaccomplished. No, I am my hype levels for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 are pretty low.
Mhm.
And then after seeing the direct, I'm like, oh, I don't understand anything about this game.
So, exactly. And emblematic of the problem to me,
Yes.
I got there,
Yeah, you're there.
is like I guess like the trailer, the story trailer,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the character introduction thing, where there was in the very beginning, I didn't really understand what was going on, but it felt like something I could, like it was an entry point where,
Sure.
Ash, is that the main?
Rex.
Rex.
Mhm.
Rex.
Right.
Ash is from Pokemon.
That's right.
Okay, so Rex,
Which we're also huge fans of.
so Rex is standing in front of like the tank or whatever that the sword is in,
Mhm.
and he's like, "It's a girl," and then somebody comes up and stabs him from behind, and then he's like dying, and the sword girl is like, "I will give some of my life force to you so you can continue to live," and I'm like, okay, that's like a premise that I
Right.
understand.
Right.
The next like 2 minutes of this trailer is them introducing 2 billion characters.
Right. It's not even like it would be one thing if it just like piled on weird nonsense where you could at least like track the logic and be like, okay, that kind of subverts that. Twist, 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 twist. It is literally just like, here's another character. Here's another character. This character is a little fuzzy ball. Here's another character. This character is a lion.
Was the audio that I was
Mixed
watching
poorly.
just not because who was talking? Was it the people? It seemed like the characters that were being introduced
No
were
idea.
not the ones that were delivering dialogue, or if they were, it like the dialogue they chose didn't match the scene that was going on. Like I found
It was
whole
also
thing
in Japanese with
very
English
confusing.
subtitles.
Yeah,
which is something that they're that's something they're putting up as like a
that's a selling point.
That's a selling point.
And
You
it
can
is
get
a selling point to
Mhm.
me because we've heard the English voices before, and they are not good.
Yeah, this thing is all whiffs to me at this point. Like, I'm not excited about anything.
Yeah.
And they're so like they introduced the concept that Rex, your main character, is a driver. No need to explain what that means. Of course, everyone knows what a driver means in the universe of Xenoblade Chronicles. And then there are blades, which are like some sort of mythological people creature things that enhance your weapons.
And there's a lot of them.
There are a lot of them. Every one of your drivers can equip 3 of them, except for Rex.
And the tank lady, as in the lady who was in the tank,
right?
M. Night Shyamalan's lady in the tank.
That's right. If you have spoilers for Lady in the Tank, please email them to Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com.
We'll send you a copy of Sonic Forces.
It's just
The
look,
copy.
I was gonna say it's just one copy. Once we run out, we are out.
Yeah, and then like they moved on to introduce, I guess, like the combat or the systems, and again, it was just like,
oh, it's
you
insane.
gotta give me a base level entry point.
Right. It's like they're talking about it's like if you could only read like the buffs you get at like level 12 in a character class in D&D, and then it's like, you understand the whole game, right?
Yeah.
You're like, no, I don't know what it means to have like +2 to dexterity. I don't know what that means.
It totally, absolutely, it totally reminded me of, like, did you ever have a teacher or a professor who was really smart and really good at the like subject they were teaching,
Mhm.
but because it came so easily to them, they could not convey to somebody who was learning like how, like, the basics of it, because they're like, why do you not understand
Right.
this?
And you're like,
Why doesn't it not just come easy to you? That's how I felt like watching this direct, where it was like, come on, dummy, how come you don't get like who these cajillion characters are.
Yeah, the thing that's like super confusing is that it like is this something that if we were fans of the original Xenoblade Chronicles that we would be like, oh, okay, I have a base level knowledge or not? Like I have no idea.
Well, and even if that is true, what a failure
Who are
of a
those
direct.
people? Right.
But what a failure of a direct, you know? Like you can't just sell to the people who's bought Xenoblade Chronicles Cross.
Right. Those people are already going to buy this game.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it was a big whiff to me, but luckily they announced an expansion pass.
Oh yeah, that's great because they're going to keep selling content for this thing until fall of 2018. So great. Drop another $20 right up front and get all of that eventually.
I mean, I think it tells you how deep my like soul weariness for this game is that they offered a free costume for Link in Breath of the Wild for completing a new side quest, and I can't even be bothered.
Now, is it really a new side quest, or is it just? I haven't looked into it yet.
I haven't.
Is it Mario? Or is it just like the costumes, the other like downloadable content that came with the Master Trials, where it's just like
you just have to go like find it somewhere.
You just
in the
have to
world,
go
like,
find
the different pieces. I'm not sure. I'm sure if it is or I guess I'm not sure because I have done zero research into it. But I feel like if it is a side quest, it is a very shallow side quest.
Right.
Like,
but yeah,
it's a new costume for Link, and I don't care.
No. Well, here's the thing.
It's a stupid costume.
It's a stupid costume modeled after a stupid character I don't know and don't like. The character might be cool. Well, the game could come out.
The game could come out and be good. I think they've just done such a poor job of explaining why I should care.
Or what it is. Like, I don't... When I see 5 characters on the screen and, like, 30 numbers fly up from it, like, I have no concept of, like, is the person playing this... Has the game been progressing steadily enough to, like, the point where they understand it? Or is it nonsense to everyone? Which I believe is a quote from the original Legend of Zelda. It's nonsense to everyone. I just don't understand what this thing is. And like, I think I could really stand to just like watch someone play the first hour of it or something. And then, make a decision about whether I care.
I would genuinely love for somebody, if anybody's listening who does enjoy the series, to just shoot us a note and explain what you like about it. You don't have to try to like explain the series or the direct to us.
Right. And also, we've been coming in hot, so so like take a breath before sending that email.
Right.
Like, chill out. It's going to be okay. We'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
I mean, we might not believe you.
Well, I mean, I'll believe you. It may not pique my interest.
There you go.
But if you include your address, we'll send you the copy.
That's right. The only copy of Sonic Forces.
How are you curating this list? Is it like the order in which it's received?
Sure.
Cool. I like
that. Yeah. I mean, maybe probably only within the U.S. No, forget it. Anywhere.
Yeah,
anywhere. I may just be sending the game card, like, just in a regular envelope.
In an interview on IGN's Nintendo Voice Chat, Factor 5 President Julian Egbert spoke about the canceled Wii game Star Wars Rogue Leaders. He expressed a lot of regret about how that game was shelved and expressed some cagey interest in bringing the game to the Switch. Egbert acknowledged that this would require buy-in from Disney, EA, and Nintendo, but also declined to answer any questions about Factor 5's ongoing relationship with Nintendo.
Which raises questions. So are you a fan of the Rogue games, Rogue Leader and Rogue Squadron?
I have heard good things, but I never really played them.
Yeah, I played a little bit of Rogue Leader on the GameCube, and it's some surprisingly like ahead of its time Star Wars.
Even just like visually, they were supposed to be really exceptional for the time.
Look really great on the GameCube, and they were working on this one for the Wii, and it was done according to the interview that he gave on NBC, and that for whatever reasons Lucasfilm or Nintendo or whomever was like, nope, we're shelving it. So that could be another one of those Star Fox 2-esque Lost Classics revived at some point here, and it's cool to think that he or Factor 5 or whoever has been in talks with Nintendo and can't comment on what they're doing right now. Might be Star Wars related. No one knows. No one knows what Factor 5 is up to, but it would be fun to play that like long lost game on the Switch.
Yeah, absolutely. The next North American Splatfest has a date and a theme. Starting Friday, November 17th at 9 p.m. Pacific time, players will be taking sides in either sci-fi or fantasy. Pick a side, nerds.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Okay, nerds. Do you have an obvious answer to this?
No, it's
sci-fi
tough.
or fantasy? It's a tough one.
Oh, man. I think I would go with fantasy with the caveat that it encompasses space fantasy, such as Star Wars.
Now, see...
Leave the Trek trash outside.
Whoa. See, I would say sci-fi because it obviously encompasses Star Wars.
Oh, man. This might be a topic for a 433 because I don't think Star Wars is sci-fi. I do think it is space fantasy. A small but very distinct difference.
I would agree with science fantasy.
What is science-y about?
There are robots.
Fair point. I have no counter argument.
I have not been playing much Splatoon since it came out.
I don't play with the regularity that I did before. I have been hopping in when what is it called? Salmon Run is active because I really enjoy Salmon Run. And kind of I have found that I am enjoying that more than doing regular
Turf War.
So, but I do like that. I do think that these Splatfests are a good way to get people to come back, even if it is just for like a weekend. The last one I wasn't around for, so wasn't able to. The vampire and werewolf one.
Oh yeah, I also maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but yeah, I keep waiting for an opportunity that like pulls me in, and this might do it. I mean, I know there are a bunch of other games coming out, but like I'm sort of at a place with Mario Odyssey where I don't like need to play a bunch more of it. So like, yeah, just to have some time and hop into the Splatfest. Seems like it could be fun.
It's definitely one of those things that once I get back into it, like once I turn on the game and I'm like, I'm just going to play 1 or 2 rounds of Salmon Run, it's very easy to suck hours into that because it's still a really great game.
Yeah, still.
So this past week, the past couple of weeks, we've seen some more companies going on the record about their Switch support because it's all around like the their financial results being announced and them having like shareholder meetings and shareholder calls and stuff like that. So this was kind of the week where third parties talked a lot about Switch. And for the most part, it was all very positive, good news. Like Ubisoft saw really great sales of...
Isn't it something like 18% of their sales from the quarter was from Mario Rabbids?
Or was from Switch, which basically, yes, I think Mario Rabbids was the main game, if not the only game that they had released, and that's something like Xbox One was like 20%.
Right.
So Switch is doing very well for Ubisoft. We saw 2K say that they were very happy with 2K18, NBA 2K18 sales, and that they expect to continue to support the Switch company wide. And in Japan, Capcom. What would an episode be without talking about Capcom?
That's you can mark it now on
on
your bingo
NCS
card.
Bingo.
Right.
Said that they are working on multiple titles for the Switch, planned for next fiscal year, including a brand new Ace Attorney game.
Hey.
Yeah, we were talking about last week in our best or favorite Nintendo trilogies episode that how much I love the first 3 Ace Attorney games, and I will absolutely buy a follow-up on Switch.
You encouraged our listeners and me to go back and try and play those games. I'm just going to wait.
Yeah, well, there's a rumor that early next year we are going to get, or early next fiscal year, so which I think theirs is like in May or something,
Sure.
the start of their fiscal year, they're going to be releasing collections, like HD collections on Switch of the first like 6 games or whatever it is.
Which is
And
also
then in the
consistent.
fall,
Yeah.
they would have a new one come out. That's like a new rumor that came out. So maybe you can play the entire series.
Ooh, boy, that sounds like a lot of
a lot of visual novel.
lot of visual novel.
But it'll also be interesting to see what else they have planned or coming up. Square Enix has also decided to go all in on Switch. They discussed Project Octopath Traveler and Dragon Quest 11 for Switch should all be out next fiscal year. Dragon Quest 11, I'm assuming, is at this point Japan only, but it'd be awesome to see Nintendo bring it over.
And that Octopath Traveler.
Yeah,
Give me that Octopath Traveler.
absolutely. They said the Switch is ideal for, quote, middle range games, which Square Enix is good at making, so they will work on those aggressively.
That's an interesting comment, right? Middle range games. What do you think that means?
I think it does mean stuff like Octopath Traveler.
And like I Am Setsuna and Lost Sphere.
I don't think we're ever
those.
I think they consider those like budget tier, and I don't think we're ever seeing any of those ever again because Lost Sphere tanked hard.
Oh yeah,
in Japan when it was released last month, and I don't think I Am Setsuna set the world on fire either. But yeah, I think like those types of basically like the Square Enix RPGs that we saw on 3DS. You know,
Sure.
like Bravely Default, like those that kind of stuff. They have become very good at making, and I think we could definitely see a home for those sorts of projects on Switch in a way that I don't think you really could on PS4.
Sure, just that sort of marriage of handheld and home console kind of opens that up for a broader like range of game.
And when considering games for Switch, Square Enix won't rule out any IPs, so this includes new ones, currently active ones, and not active games. New Switch games may become multi-platform, but Square Enix, again, promises to aggressively make games for Switch. Again, this makes sense. We've kind of talked about from the beginning that once Switch started to get traction in Japan with the 3DS dying, the Vita, like pretty much out the door, and the PS4 doing okay, but not amazing, that it makes sense for like a Switch or maybe Switch PS4 future for companies who are still focused on the Japanese market.
Yeah. The idea that no IP is off the table is very exciting to me. Even though I'm sure they're going to be circling the same like couple series that they always do. I saw some chatter on the internet today that like, what if there's another The World Is Not Enough game? That would be dope. What if there's another Chrono game, right? Like we've only had the 2. It seems like, I mean, there's a lot of space here for them to like grow into what the Switch could be.
One thing I think will be interesting to see is, we haven't had I know Kingdom Hearts 3 is in the works, and right now it's just announced for Xbox One and PS4 and maybe PC, but I think those are the only consoles. When asked about bringing it to the Switch, it's sounded like it's not in the works at the moment. But previously, when you had the Vita and the 3DS and on the DS and I guess even the Game Boy Advance as well, you had that like
the spin-off games.
You had those spin-off games or even like the games that were part of the main series, but they were on a handheld, and so the budgets were smaller because like the amount of work to make these like sub HD 3DS games was significantly less.
Right.
Then and if you what do you do with that same sort of is there still opportunity for that like 2 strata of the same franchise in a world where you're like supporting the Switch, which is a HD console, but is home to these kind of like games that used to be on the handhelds before. I don't know. Like, I don't know if what I'm saying is making sense, but
no, it does. It makes sense that like if they just want to have like another space for another slightly different, less expensive for them to make Kingdom Hearts game, that space is the Switch.
It is, but like, how does that work when basically we're expecting the same sort of right? Like, if they brought a spin-off to Switch and it looked like the 3DS game,
Right. It
Or
would
even
have,
the
it would
Vita
have to
game,
look
it would be
right.
no good. But then at that point, aren't you just making a game that's as big and expensive as Kingdom Hearts 3? That's what I'm saying. Does that make sense? Like, how do you
Yeah,
continue
well,
that?
because I think that like the Wii U in some or the Switch. Why did I say Wii U? That was weird. That the Switch is more or less becoming that like the step down technologically speaking console. So like it is still cheaper to make a Switch game than a like a whatever you would say a full blown Switch game versus a full blown like Xbox One X game or whatever. You're still not doing like 4K visuals or like HDR or whatever. That there's still fewer like presentational strains on that end. Maybe just the budget for the kind of middle range has to be inflated a little bit, but not as high as it would be on like the kind of bleeding edge consoles.
And maybe it comes down to like visual differentiation, because Nintendo, when they cease supporting the 3DS, where will they put those? Like Phantom Hourglass or Link
Mhm.
Between Worlds types games. There's totally room for them on the Switch, but before the same sort of like budgetary constraints, I guess you could make that differentiation between in like art style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I'm sure you could just do something like that with Kingdom Hearts or any franchise. Really.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how people or how like developers carve out these sort of identities for games, because I do feel like they're going to have to make them on purpose now instead of as capped by the hardware. That like it would you make a smaller 3DS game because that's as much as the 3DS can handle. Now, as much as the Switch can handle, that's Doom, that's Breath of the Wild, that's these are intensive games.
And maybe Octopath Traveler is an example of that
Yes.
sort of
Mhm.
a choice. Hey, Hulu came out for the Switch
Hey,
last week. Very little fanfare, just like quietly showed up on the App Store,
yeah, is
on the eShop.
strange. So I added a little note in here that just referring back to the interview that the Factor 5 guy gave on no wait, where NCS?
NVC.
That a lot of the Factor 5 guys are working for Hulu now. And he just relayed a little bit of information that Nintendo was holding back a little piece of encryption that all video streaming services use until after the platform was launched. So like everything that they were supplying people with was just like game driven, and so they were sort of holding any of that like video streaming ability until later.
And makes sense to me. We had
Mhm.
talked about in the past how Nintendo, in their presentations, in their marketing message for the Switch, was very clear.
It plays games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that they would kind of want to wait a little bit for it to be established in the market before they're like quietly, and it can do this other stuff
Right.
too.
It can do this stuff. Why shouldn't it?
Finally, Super Mario Run is currently in the middle of a promotion featuring statues from Super Mario Odyssey.
Hey, I
There's
like both those games.
Yeah, there's like a Mario wedding statue that I guess they kind of look like the amiibos. Is
yeah.
that what I'm?
When there are amiibos, yeah.
When there are amiibos. So like the Mario in his wedding outfit, the Peach in her dress, Bowser in his tuxedo, and then there's also a Pauline statue.
Yeah. Why no Pauline amiibo?
Yeah, why no Pauline amiibo?
She's exactly as playable as Bowser or Peach, which is to say not at all in the game.
Maybe Mario Odyssey amiibo round 2.
Oh yeah, that I would believe that. Anyway, so those you can check the like little notification schedule in the thing for it's basically just like going in and collecting the prize from the box this week, next week, the week after, and so on. And you can get those cool statues. Mark, let's move out of the news. And that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. We didn't mention before, but if you would please rate, review, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, that helps us out a lot. The only way really we get any new listeners is from people sharing us or from people discovering us on Apple Podcasts, and the reviews do a lot to help that.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone who has left a review. Thank you to everyone who has shared the show with a friend. We really like doing the show, and we really like hearing from people who are enjoying it.
Yeah, and if you are not enjoying it and you just want to get your hands on my copy of Sonic Forces, you can send us an email at Nintendo Cartridge Society at
gmail.com.
On Twitter, we are at NinCart Society, and on Facebook, it is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can listen to 8-Bit Betty's music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers offering you my copy of Sonic Forces.
To borrow.
Tomorrow.
To borrow.
Tomorrow?
Borrow.
To borrow. Thanks for listening.
What's a Creative Podcast Network?
Hey folks, it's Casey and Jonathan from the Sleepers Podcast.
That's right.
We are a fantasy football podcast. But guess what else? We do a lot of fun stuff on our podcast. If you don't like fantasy football, that's fine, because we're not actually that good at giving fantasy football advice.
No, I actually don't even enjoy it.
It's not even fun.
It's not even
we
fun.
both want to die.
Yeah.
It's great.
No.
We do segments on our show. We have fun. We do segments like today we recasted the cast of Seinfeld. Recast Seinfeld
With NFL players.
with NFL players. Oh, can you imagine how
Oh my
funny that
God.
was?
Last week we had a thing about which Halloween costume an NFL player would have worn as a kid.
Guess what? Gronk was a potato.
Oh my
it was
God.
crazy.
It was crazy.
We're having fun. We hope you like it. Anyway, thank you so much to Patrick and Mark. We love you. We love Nintendo Cartridge Society.
Absolutely, and if you want to check us out, we are the Sleepers Podcast.
Also, we have a Twitter that we talk about.
At Sleepers Podcast.
Hey, thanks. Bye.
Goodbye.